Oh no, everyone's going to be like that. I'm not even going. I'm cutting. I'm not even bothering. But anyway, we're going to have some fun. So Healthy Movers. Does anybody know much about Healthy Movers, or is this totally new?
Totally new.
Totally new. Totally new. Okay. So I've got a presentation that I'm going to go through, but I am going to kind of flip backwards and forwards, because I think when my presentation's on, I don't know whether you can actually see me, and I want to be able to kind of be interacting with you all the time as well. We are going to do a little of, I'm echoing a bit here, so apologies if you hear me echoing. We are going to do a couple of practical little activities as well. Because I thought it'd be nice to actually get stuck into a couple of the Healthy Mover activities. So this is your next task. So I'm going to, one of the activities is we're going to use like a maybe a scarf, if you've got something like that handy. Most people probably won't have that handy. If you've got a ribbon, you can use a ribbon. Oh yes, the lanyard. I was going to say you might need a sock. Worst case scenario. Or toilet roll, tissue, something like that. Sorry to give you a little task to disappear from your seat with. So wave your little whatever you're going to be working with. Oh, we got
a lanyard.
Oh, fab. This is going to be hilarious when people watch this back and socks flying around the screen and lanyards. Okay, so we're not going to use that just yet. So pop that to the side, but we will use that in a short while. Okay, so I'm gonna try to flip to my screen now. So this is what we are. I work for the Youth Sports Trust, and this is the Healthy Mover workshop, and my name's Flo Holmes. So I'm actually based in Cornwall. I live in Perranporth myself, so I'm very familiar with you know, your setup for your schools and your areas and the issues that might have as well. And I've worked in many settings across Cornwall and out of county as well. So hopefully through the workshop, you'll be able to get as much as you can from me about how Healthy Movers will look in your setting if you're looking to move ahead with it. So these are our outcomes. So this is what I wanted to get by the end of our workshop here. So the first thing was explain the importance of learning through physical activity. Now, I think I was at the launch this morning as well, and I think that's been, you know, we've gone through all that quite a lot. So I won't focus too much on that, because I think we all get that actually physical activity is so important on more than the physical level. So we will touch on it, but I won't be going too much into that. I'm also wanting you to become familiar with the Healthy Movers resource. So I'm going to be showing you some of the different resources that we work with and how they can really enhance all the work for your practitioners in your setting. And also, and I think probably most importantly, you know, how Healthy Movers can link to other areas of the curriculum, because so often we might think of our physical activity and our play activities as standalone, and early years, I think, do so well at actually integrating all of that physical activity and really drawing out all the other areas of the curriculum as well. So those are things I'm kind of hoping to get through by the end of the session. So, first of all, though, I know we've looked at the CMO guidelines for over 5s on how much physical activity children should get every day. But what I'm thinking now of under 5s, can someone, or how many minutes do you think your children, and I know you don't all work in early years, but for those who are in early years, or how many minutes do you think that the children in early years get of physical activity in a day? What would you say? How many minutes?
I think it's probably less than what we think it is.
Yeah.
Because although they're up and about a lot, I think the actual definition of where activity comes in, I think it's probably a lot less than what we perceive it to be.
Yeah. What would you think then, in terms of, if we think that the over 5s, we were looking really to get 60 active minutes in the school day, what do you think? How much do you think? How much would you say yours would do then?
I'd like to say that they do 60 minutes a day, if not more. But it's whether it's active enough.
Yeah. Is everybody else the same?
Yeah, I know my EYFS teacher. She is always active with them, but like Anna said, I don't know if it's classed as vigorous or if it's the moderate one.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Let me show you then what the guidelines are. The guidelines for preschool age children should be doing at least 180 minutes a day. So that spreads throughout the day. It's obviously not all in your setting, but that's quite a lot of time, isn't it, to be physically active? And we also say that under 5s should minimise the amount of time being sedentary or in seated position. And because we have the situation where lots of children, so lots of this age of children would go from a pram maybe to a high chair, from a high chair into a car seat maybe, into a trolley in a supermarket, you know, but we have this term that we call bucket babies, where children just go from seat to seat to seat to seat and they're actually not moving so much. Maybe it's become more of a problem since parents are rushing around and things, but if outside the setting children aren't active, we make sure they're as active as possible inside the setting. Does that surprise you?
I don't think it surprises me. I think it just opens your eyes when you say from this place to this place, so from the car seat to the trolley. You forget that, of course, they should be walking in between those times, but they're not.
No. And so many parents probably still in the preschools and the nurseries are pushing the prams with the children in up to school because it probably takes a third of the time. Whereas we should be walking, and when we're walking, we're looking at different things. We're counting, we're recognizing numbers on doors. You know, we're doing so much else, aren't we? Not just the physical. So that's quite, and it's usually when we do an actual training session for Healthy Movers, that's usually something that people think, actually, I didn't realise. Yeah, if we actually look at one of our groups of children, the children are quite sedentary for quite a period of time during the day, and it might be that they're just sitting, they might be pushing a train around, so they're still playing, but they always choose the carpet area to sit and do a calm activity as opposed to getting up and moving to a different area and you know, being physically active. Some will automatically, but if we don't ensure they all do it, then there'll be some that will just not, unless we explicitly make sure they're doing it, being physically active. You'll get a lot that will just sit back and not partake in those activities. So this is our solution. So Healthy Movers, that's our solution. So our Healthy Movers pack, and I'm thinking that none of us have really seen it. Everybody gets a pack. Can you see me as well, or can you just see my screen?
No, I can see you.
Best behave myself then. So the pack, we actually get a zip-up pack, and inside the pack you get all your different activity cards with loads and loads of different activities. You get a packet of stickers in there to award to the children as well. You get a music CD, because some of the activities that we do, they have music to go with each track, as a track of music to go with each card as well. So our cards, we're going to have a look at one of our cards now, but this is how, you know, you get so many different activities to do, and each of the activities, they're blocked into our fundamental movement skills. So we get some that are agility and locomotion, we get some that are object control, and we get some that are stability activities. So we're threading those through the cards all the time as we're delivering these cards. So that takes us on to our first little card that we're going to do. It's called Wiggle Weave Watch, and this is why we need a little scarf. And I'm going to come off my share screen now. Okay, so this is where we're going to need our scarf. So the card is called Wiggle Weave Watch, and we're starting off. It's hilarious seeing you with a little yarn yard. We're starting off. The first thing the children need to do is to be able to hold it with their finger and their thumb. Okay, so that's where we start with this particular card, and the children would be seated, so we might start seating. So again, we could start this while the children are just sitting on the mat or sitting on the carpet before we've actually got into the day even. It could be just straight after you've done like a little registration. So finger thumb, and we're going to start by just doing circles. So if we can just do circles, and while we're doing the circle, what I'm wanting you to, is there anyone else in your offices?
No.
While we're doing the circles, just try and track it with your eyes. So we're moving around the circle, but we're actually tracking the scarf all the time with their eyes. And then we're going to go bigger. So we're going to do bigger circles. Might use the whole arm now. Whole arm. Then we're going to have a go going the other way around. All the time we're using our finger and our thumb. We're going to change fingers and change hands now, because what often happens when we do things, even at every level of physical activity, we must always make sure we use our left side and our right side. Okay, so what children would tend to do is just pick up with their dominant and do one thing with that, and if we're not consciously asking them to change sides, then they would just continue to work on that dominant rather than using both. So again, we were doing circles. We might start little, we're going to go bigger. We might have different shapes. We might have squares, and we might even count how many sides there are on a square. So even though we're doing this activity, it's a physical activity, we're still managing through this activity even to bring in some of our mathematical language. We might be doing our swirls. We might do a swirl and we might do it to the side. Okay, so have a little go at doing a little swirl, like a snaky shape, to the side, in front of the body, okay, behind the body. Yeah, so we're getting this mathematical language in here, which are all things obviously that you're working on all the time when you're doing your early years on your early years curriculum. So we'd have a go, we do that. We'd then move around, so that we might be marching around, we might be skipping around. We won't move now, otherwise we'll all just be dancing around our rooms. But we could be stomping, we could be crawling, and our scarf could be like slithering along next to us. And what we've done also when we do the Healthy Movers is we don't just do that physical activity on its own. We often link it to a book or a song or a story. And you might, do you know the song, there's a worm at the bottom of my garden? Yeah? Who's going to sing it with me? Yay! So when we're doing it, we might be singing those songs as well. So there's a worm at the bottom of my garden. We might all be moving around. So the children are bringing in that too. So we're doing the physical, but we're bringing in other things as well. Does anybody know the book Superworm? Yeah, so Superworm is another fab book. That's a book that we sometimes link to when we do this. And this is no longer a scarf, it's now a worm. Or it might be our pet, and we're taking that pet for a walk. We might be walking around. We might then go into a wormhole, which might be like a throw down spot on the floor or a hoop, and our worm is coming down into the hole. You know, so even though we're doing our object control activity, because we're using this scarf, that's our object, we're doing that, but we might be using a book or a story or a song that blends into it as well. So it's not physical activity alone, it's threading in right the way through your curriculum. Okay, so that's kind of the start of our Wiggle Weave Watch card. I'm just going to share my screen again with you. And so on the front of our Wiggle Weave Watch card here, it says it's a coordination and object control, because this is our object, this is our scarf, which is our object. And on the card, it says there as well that we do this activity once a day, every day for a week. So the children do this activity and they would do it every single day. Some settings we've worked in that they actually, instead of just doing it for a whole week, they maybe do it for 2 weeks because they really want to embed these movements. And especially if you've got a setting where some settings are working are so small that children aren't in every single day, and they want to make sure actually the children are all getting a good deal from it. So they do it for 2 weeks just to make sure they kind of hit all the children enough times. So that's just our front cover of our card. If I just open up the front cover there, this is basically what we've just started, and this is how simple the cards are. So they're not complicated, they're really easy just to pick up and go with. So first thing, seated, each child has a chiffon scarf. They hold it with a finger and a thumb. They create shapes, wiggles and swirls. Step 2 is we might encourage them to keep their head still and watch. And the reason we're looking and we're watching the scarf is that we're tracking it. And that's our first stage of learning to read. Yeah, so tracking words across the page, that's what we're actually doing, even though we think, oh, the children are just having a lovely fun time, but actually we're starting to track the words across the page. That's what we're training, we're learning and working with the children, but obviously all just through play. Then we've got our music that we can bring on as well. As we go through, one of the activities we do with the Wiggle Weave Watch is we scrunch up our scarf or our well, probably not the one. Don't really want to scrunch a worm up, but we will scrunch up our scarf or piece of material, and then we throw it up in the air and we track it as it comes down to the floor as well. So again, we're tracking. When the scarf is on the floor, we might pick up somebody else's scarf. So now we're now sharing this object. It's not an ownership, we're sharing as well. Or we might have to pick up a different colour, starting to think about the colours that we're working with as well. So that's our initial how to play. And then inside the card, we have moving on, and then a little game to play. So we've already moved on in that somebody might have to shout out the moves of circle, square, and that's us helping to identify whether children know what those particular shapes are. Again, working on those early years goals there as well. And then we move on. Oh, that's how I moved on. We move the scarf up in the air and watch it fall and tracking it with our eyes. And then our final one there, game to play. So we might take our little scarf for a walk. So there's a lot of picking up and moving around in different ways and things. So one little card, it's got a lot of information on, or a lot of activity on, but through really simple instructions. Does that look like it's quite simple to use?
Yeah.
So far, yeah. So I'll go. So I've shown you the front cover. I then showed you what was inside the front cover, which was how to play. I then showed you inside double front of the cover here, which has got our moving on. I'm now on the inside flap, the other inside flap, and this is where we talk about all our me's. We call these our me's. And you would have heard this morning, Sue and Jane both spoke about physical literacy, about developing the whole child. It isn't just about the physical. The physical activity does so much more than just improve them physically. Okay, so through all of our cards, we always focus on the healthy and happy me, social me, the physical, the creative, and the thinking me. So the children aren't accidentally going to become more sociable or accidentally become more creative or improve their cognitive skills. We're kind of threading it through all the time, but in a really simple way. So you might be asking children, did you share your scarf during the game, for example? That's improving our social me. What shapes did you make with your scarf? Circles, straight lines, bendy lines, and that's the creative me. So we're not just thinking about the physical, we're thinking about the much wider aspects of learning there. And please ask any questions at any time, because I will just talk. And then, so on the back of our cards, this is a really exciting bit. On the back of our cards, we have a photocopiable page that goes out to parents. And this is really powerful because it's showing the parents exactly what we're doing within our settings, that they can actually help them. And even though we might be in the setting and we might have scarves that we're doing our actions with, you've all just did something in the setting. It could just be a sock that you're doing your action with. Your sock could be your little toy. It could easily just have been a piece of kitchen roll, strip of kitchen roll. So we're hoping now that the parents are going to be able to start working with children at home, and they'll know exactly the things you've been working on. And what I found in the settings that I've worked in 24 different settings across Cornwall, and I did a big project with 16 settings in West Somerset, and they've all found that after getting the parents to do some of the work at home, it really helped the relationship between the setting and the parents anyway. having a bit of a laugh about it, about doing these activities at home, and they're having lots of photos sent in as well to kind of evidence that they're improving that parent setting link as well, which has been really exciting. Something else I did when I delivered Healthy Movers is I made up some of these ribbons, and I just literally, they are just ribbons, little elastic hairbands, and I put these ribbons on. These are just I'm going to take you off share so I can see you all a bit clearer. These are all the ribbons were just from Amazon or something. I just bought a big reel of them, and they're really nice on the children because they can do all these movements, and we can have them in the finger and a thumb, and we can be doing it, but they're just still attached to the children. So that was a really nice one as well when we managed to get some parents to come in, because through the programme we always try to get parents on site to do a stay and play activity. So the parents will come and do Healthy Movers with the children at the setting. And that's just fantastic with building those relationships. And one of the programs I worked on in Cornwall, I'll say a bit more about it later, but I run those sessions. I was running those sessions with the practitioners, and we just have such a laugh doing it, and the parents, it just really breaks the ice. And settings are saying, actually, from coming on, getting parents to come in and do Healthy Movers, we're actually finding that parents are more likely to come on board now and speak about their children, because we've already built that relationship with the parents through a little ribbon activity and hiding behind different items and things. So these, when I do the Healthy Mover stay and play, I was just giving these to the children to take home, and then they would have those at home to help them do the activities. But again, the hair, like from Poundland, hundreds of them for like nothing, and then these ribbons are just so cheap as well, just to buy. So and they pack down really, really. I just put them in this little Tupperware, but they pack down so easily that can easily be stored in a preschool setting as well. So I'm going to go back to share my screen again. So that's our card for the Wiggle Weave Watch. What do you think of that card? How do you think? Do you think it's fun? Do you think your children would like it? Sorry, Lisa.
I said I think it's nicely laid out, and it seems to have everything on there. The nice breakdown of the activities, and if people are new to doing things in this way, then it's all there for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's something that the settings all really liked. And on the training day, hopefully, you'll come to a whole training day, or someone in your setting will, and we do each card. I go through every single card, so they've seen it, they've felt it, they've done it, so that when they come up to it like that, oh, I remember when Flo did that I can do that. And sometimes I think, and the cards, and I think that they realise actually how easy the cards are to pick up and just go with. They're not complicated. But also, I think the exciting thing about them, when I've been to all these different settings, is every setting does it differently, and there's no right and wrong. And I check one setting's doing another, and that's the exciting thing, is that everyone takes it on its own little tangent, and I learn so much from each of them as well. So that's been good. Any other observations from Anna, Brian?
I like the inclusion of the parents in it, because it is the one thing that you really try and get them to do, is to send in observations from home to sort of build up that learning journey. So the fact that they can work on something very similar, we use something called Class Dojo, so we wouldn't even have to photocopy it. We could just place it on their portfolios so that they can see what activity we've been up to, and then they can comment back directly to us to say how it's going.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. And I've seen that Class Dojo being used quite a lot in some of my settings in West Somerset, where they would actually video the children in the setting, and then by the time the children got home, the parents actually knew what they'd been doing and could help to reiterate it at home as well. Yeah, and I think it is, and it's an easy way to include the parents as well. And so that was a card that, and I think just linking into the literacy there, some of the projects we've been doing, one of the project in West Somerset, the big project was like trying to improve the Healthy Movers was put up there to try to improve social mobility through physical literacy, and it was huge. It had such a big impact. And then the one in Cornwall here as well, where we're looking at the physical activity of Healthy Movers, but we're really focusing on how this Healthy Movers can actually pull out all areas of the curriculum. And it becomes really quite exciting when you hear settings say we're now delivering our whole curriculum through Healthy Movers, and that's their kind of their vehicle.
Yeah,
that's really exciting.
How many cards are there?
So there are 4, 8, 12. I think there are 16 or 18 cards. We look at a card for a week, but I was just explaining to somebody this morning who was actually asking me about Healthy Movers, is that depending on the vehicle that you're using as the platform to share Healthy Movers, the particular card through, you could use it in so many different ways. So, for example, one of our cards is Hot Treasure, and the children pick up treasure out of the treasure box, and lots of people link that to pirates or going on the beach. We do all these things with this treasure. Things, but I actually also see it done the second time in the year, and the second time they're actually pulling out toys from a stocking, and that was linking into Christmas. It was a stocking. Treats were coming out of the stocking, so so many, and it became quite a different activity then, and the items were different. It's like random things. You pull out a teddy bear and you've got to balance that, and so it's not all sports equipment that we use, but it's a different you use a different theme or a different book or a different song, and it just changes the card totally again. So that's our we've watched. Okay, so next is our fundamental movement skills. How clear are we on our fundamental movement skills? Are you all quite aware of what locomotion activities are, what stability and what object control movements are? Yeah. So I didn't want I was going to do an activity because our cards, we have so some of them, the one I've just shown you, Wiggle We've Watched, that was object control because we had an object. Our stability ones have balance activities, and our locomotion are our moving around activities. Now I was going to do an activity where I ask you all to take the words from the next page and put them in these columns, but I'm thinking if you're all quite fine with them, then I'll just move. Is that okay with you all?
Yeah,
cool. Okay, so lost my cursor, it's back again. So these were all the words. I was going to pause, but I think for people who are rewatching this, they'll be able to do this particular task. So the task is to take these words and to put each of those words under one of the 3 headings of locomotion, stability or object control, and then pause for 5 or 6 minutes while everybody puts all these words under one of those columns. I'm now going to move on to the answers. But I just wanted to say all that because people watching this back Fiona's talking or Flo's talking in riddles. So here are the answers that you hopefully will have. So our locomotion actions are these kind of movements. Okay, so we've got crawling, rolling. So movements that we move from one position, I suppose, to another, one place to another. Our stability, these are our stability movements, and our object control are these movements. Now, these are all movements that we would be focusing on at some point within our cards. Okay, so we have a bank of cards that are locomotion, a bank of cards that are stability, and a bank of cards that are object control. But you'll remember when we did our Wiggle We've Watched, we had our scarf, so that was an object control, but we could have been stepping or stomping or hopping around the space while we were using this. So although our focus is on object control, we're also using some locomotion movements. Okay, so just because we've got one card that's object control doesn't mean we're not threading into the others. And when we throw our scarf up and watch it come down, when we're stood still, obviously we've got some stability movements there. So although we have one focus, we do thread across the others as well. The order I've put these in here, these movements get progressively more difficult as you go down through the list. So if we can't, so if a child is struggling with one of these movements, you would need to really think, okay, so what comes before that? Because they've obviously maybe got a gap. And if we're not making sure that children can do all these movements, then we're going to stop them from being able to progress to even more difficult movements. Okay. And crawling is one that we talk about quite a bit, actually, that some children that miss out the crawling stage and then go straight to the walking stage. Have any of you come across that in your earlier settings?
Yeah.
And what do you do when that's the case?
What I find later on is that they can't manage quite crossing that centre line. So things like sort of going up and down the steps they find really hard, because there's more than just the one thing to focus on. And then reaching across the centre line to reach something on the opposite side of them, they really struggle with if it's not parallel to them. So, and that's because they haven't been able to cross that centre line when they're crawling.
Yes, yeah, and it's so important. So because people say, oh, we didn't even crawl, we went straight to walking, and I'm like that, okay. But maybe we'll just take it back and have a go at that crawling stage. And why not? If you know there are children that have missed that stage, why not, when you're doing your scarf, get them all doing it? You know, we can all be on the floor crawling around and things. It doesn't have to be, you know, we can all go back a stage, can't we? It doesn't matter at all. Yeah, that's really interesting that that's happened in your setting as well. This other one here on the bottom of stability, we've got inversion. What do you think I mean by that? What I mean by inversion is being upside down. So children don't experience being upside down. And when I was younger, we used to go to the park, we used to hang on trees and go upside down, or we used to have rope swings and go upside down. But a lot of time now, children don't get to go upside down. And you might see children sitting on a sofa, and I'm going to go out of shot probably, but sitting on the sofa, then like dangling their head off the back. And everyone's like that, oh, stop playing on the furniture. But actually, it's really important for the children to experience being upside down. Otherwise, when they come to do things like handstands or gymnastic movements over a vault or something, they haven't experienced that, and so it becomes quite alien to them. So that's an interesting one there. Oh, and also they sometimes would do that maybe on a swing, sitting on a swing and going backwards. So it's really important that we kind of do all of these movements, and if the children don't get one of them, then we can go back and we can have a little look at what would have come before. So that's what we call a fundamental movement skills. Okay, so I didn't want you to do that task then, because I felt like we kind of you all had a grasp of it, but when I put this presentation together, I wasn't really sure what the audience would be. So we know then that children who possess inadequate motor skills are often relegated to a life of exclusion from organised and free play, and then to a lifetime of inactivity because of their frustrations in early movement behaviour. So if they haven't got it right now, then they're not going to have those positive experiences later. And was it Jane, I think, this morning showed that video of like someone trying to climb over a fence and struggling and trying to balance, and struggling and things. And if we don't have these fundamental movements, if we don't grasp it, then we're less likely to, and probably not likely to, carry on doing it as we become adults. So we're looking really for the whole skills for life. Okay, so looking at the back of our card, then this is looking at our means again, on our wiggle weave card. How do you think this could be? So when I speak about that we could maybe take one card and link it right the way through, what other early learning goals do you think we could kind of tackle or work on through this wiggle weave watch card? I've put the different goals down there. So where do you think within this card we can improve the communication and language, or the literacy, or the mathematics?
Well, with the new early learning goals, it's now defined it into gross and fine motor skills. So it works on both of those in 2 different ways. Because like I say, for this one, being able to hold something between a finger and thumb, some of the children, they won't be able to do that for very long, especially if they've then got to do a gross movement at the same time as keeping their fingers pinched together. So you've got both sides of that, gross and fine, being ticked off there.
Yeah. What I've seen it being done as well in another setting is they've finished with their scarf and then they've had to peg it.
Yeah.
So on a washing line. And again, that's you know, it's fun for them, but actually it's all that you know, that the fine motor skill there as well, trying to do that. How about what other books then do you think that you have that would link into this, or what other themes that you do throughout the year might link into this card?
Well, we don't follow schemes as such anymore, but depending on what schema the children are sort of displaying. So my current class have come up a lot younger than what we're used to seeing because of their COVID break and the fact they missed a lot of their last bit of nursery. So mine are still very much transporting from one place to another. So I would build in the fact that they like things to go from one place to another. So it might be they have to select one of the scarves out of a bucket, then create this movement that we want them to do whilst they move, and then they place it in a different bucket at the end, so that they're transporting things from one place to another to fit what their current schema is.
Yeah. Anybody else? No. So we've spoken already about the mathematical language. Yeah. So the scarf might be in front of, behind, the shapes are circles. Okay, so there's quite a few different things in there as well. And with the story, it's about obviously, you know, reading the story again and again and again, isn't it, in early years, and you know, really that whole repetition of the movements, just to really try to get those movement patterns secure. Okay, so that brings us on to when we think about everything with the children, it brings us on to our physical literacy. So we've already spoken about the fundamental movement skills that we're using. We're working on those building blocks of our fundamental movement skills, but it's obviously all about the physical literacy. And again, I know that Sue and Jane spoke and Tim a lot about physical literacy this morning. So this was our physical literacy quote. Having the motivation, the confidence and the physical competence and knowledge and understanding to take responsibility for engagement in physical activities for life. And again, it comes back to that, doesn't it? It's that for life. And embedding these physical activities now and the enjoyment of it. And what we found in some of the settings that we've worked in, that the children, as soon as they come into the settings now, they're saying, when are we doing healthy movers? Can we do healthy movers now? You know, and they actually love doing it. They're motivated to do it and they're enjoying it. And you know, and I think when you embed that into the setting, embed that into your setting, then the children are going to become physically literate, and that just opens so many doors to all learning for them. Please do stop me if you want to chat about anything in more detail or anything, because I'm whizzing on. Okay, so pop the bubble. This is the next little card that I just wanted to look at. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're doing okay. So pop the bubble is another card, and this one is an agility locomotion card. The nice thing about this card is it's great fun. The children love it, and often it's been one of the practitioners' favourites as well. They just keep coming back to it because it's really good fun. So if we move to how to play. So the children start off in a crouched position and they jump up, and as they jump up they shout pop and they clap their hands above their head. So they start nice and low, then they jump and they shout pop. So they're using the sound p is something they're learning here. So they're looking at the sound p and they're popping the bubbles as they clap and reach up. So and then we put the music on, and this is our basic how to play. They're crouching down, they're jumping up and they're shouting pop and they're clapping their hands. Okay, we then move on The children might be moving around in tiptoes. There might be big spaces, big strides. So again, we're looking at the agility and locomotion there as well. And after they've popped after they've clapped their hands, they have to stand still. So again, it's quite a lot on the control as well. Then we move on, and when we move on, we actually bring in a bubble wand. So I buy these bubble wands. They're just really cheap from Poundland, or they're 50 pence in, I don't know, in the sale in Tesco at the end of the summer, that kind of thing, you know, really cheap. I've seen it being done where people have had the bubble machines, and that's fine. That's quite crazy. Whereas I quite like these, that they seem to be bigger bubbles and kind of seems to be a bit of a calmer activity. So the bubbles then come and the children have to go and pop them. They have to clap them and pop them, and they really like that activity as well. I also do it, there's a game that they play where certain children might have to go in and then everyone else might count how many bubbles they pop. So we kind of maybe the other children might be in a circle and they're counting how many certain children can pop. I've also done this where we've had, as the bubbles come down, they track them and they've got to try and let the bubble land on their hand. And that's a lovely calm activity. They track it, and let it land on your knee or on your shoulder or on the back of your hand or on your finger. You might have to poke it with your finger to pop it. So even though we start off with a clap, then we kind of, I change it to have different ways and see how low you can catch it. So you've got to wait for it really to come down low, or how high, you know, so just changing it like that. The children love this. And a couple of safety things though, on the slippery floors, obviously we've got to be careful if you've got a wooden floor, but carpets and outside are perfect for it. But the card doesn't say about this and about this. These are just things that actually just other ways you can develop the cards. And they are, and the children do really enjoy the bubbles. And one of the settings I was in, they linked it to the book Whatever Next. Do you know that book? And that they had a little teddy bear. It was Bodmin preschool, and they had a little teddy bear, and the teddy put wellies on. They had a colander on their head, so the helmet, the space helmet and things, and it's as if this teddy bear was going off into space and popping these bubbles, and then the children were popping the bubbles like as in the book. But yeah, they really grasped onto it, and you just took off on different tangents, and it's actually taking it the way that the children take it. It's trying to really go with the way that the children want to move on the activity. We've had one before, this isn't this card, but another one, Under the Sea, where the children are all different creatures under the sea. So we've got starfish, we've got crabs, we're looking at different movement patterns, and some children say, oh, dinosaurs, yay, we can have dinosaurs under the sea, that's fine. You know, so it's just really whatever way the children want to take the card, and that's just great. Use their imagination all the time. So looking at our Mies here as well, these are other things that be drawn out of the children. So although, you know, we're looking at how they're moving around, their agility and their locomotion, more importantly, we're looking at all these other skills. And if you've got children who are maybe weaker on the social skills, you might really focus on the social. If you've got children that aren't very creative, you might really focus on the creative. So you can focus on one of these, or you can do them all. Obviously, however you like to use it, it's fine. What kind of book link, theme, or curriculum link would you think would you could link into Pop the Bubble?
I suppose you could link it to space, actually. There could be rockets taking off, and then they've got to make the clap to pop the bubble as they enter space. So once they've left the ground and once they have entered space, that's what that pop is. So you could link it into a space theme.
Yeah. How about you, Brian? Anything that you've done before that you think would be?
Well, I'm a Key Stage 2 teacher, so it's a lot different. It's a lot different. So I'm just here to learn to write it all down. What you do.
I hope it's been useful. Are you thinking?
I've read loads.
Guys, they're bonkers.
Yeah, you're probably thinking, what on earth do they do every day?
She was like, themes. I was like, themes. We said we do topics in Key Stage 2, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I guess it's all the same, isn't it? It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
it's what my early years teacher does, so she must be doing it right.
do you know what? And I'm secondary school PE trained. I did a lot of work around Camborne area and all their primary schools before I came down to work a lot more in early years. And I'm blown away by early years teachers. I'm blown away by their creativity, their energy. And as much as I'm delivering all this, I'm learning so much from you guys as well. I just think you're all amazing. I just honestly
in key stage 2, like we've got some children that really struggle with like coordination and stuff. So even though your wormy one, can't remember the name of it, even though it's for EYFS, it will really help them because for whatever reason their fine motor skills aren't there. So to get them practicing those ones, and our SEN children as well, because sometimes they can't access our full PE curriculum, but if they can access these activities, which lead to the 180 minutes a day, which will help them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I find some of my settings where the children have moved up to reception or year 1, or they might even bring some children further up the school down to work with their early years on some of the activities as well, especially some of the SEN children. And
it would work for us as well for like break time activities as well. So the older children, obviously when COVID has gone, the older children could lead some of them for the younger children, so they have something active to do at lunchtime as well.
Some leadership things as well there.
Yeah, so, had my key stage 2 hat on, how I could use it.
Yeah, it's great though, isn't it? And
it's really good. I like it.
Yeah, but it's fun as well. You know, it's good fun, and the settings have loved it. The ones that we've been in, and it's have we still got Lisa? I don't know if she's still here with us.
She's put a message in the chat to say that she's got off to pick her son up.
Oh, okay. I can't see the chat then. Is there anything else? Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sure.
So even though it is for the EYFS, you could easily adapt it for all, like to cater for your school.
Yeah.
That's my question today. Even though it's for EYFS, could I use it in year 1 and year 2? And
absolutely. And I think you use it to whatever level, don't you? Because the book that you would attach to it, or your theme or your topic, would just be different from Superworm. You know, you wouldn't be singing "There's a worm at the bottom of my garden."
Well, year 6 might still like that, to be fair.
Would like it, yeah. But it's for everybody, isn't it? Because one of those fundamental movement skills that we had up, we're still looking at them in year 6. We're still looking at them in secondary school. My son's 18. He's still looking at them in sport at elite level. You know, so it's everybody looks at it. You don't done that, can do that. Balance, got that.
Yeah,
always working on it.
Yeah, because before COVID, we had a sort of 15 minutes before school where we would target certain children and invite them in before school started to do a fundamental activity. And it was based on the fact that I would speak to all the staff and say, where are your weakness areas? Who can't access the full PE curriculum other than for an SEN reason? Is it because that they give up because they're finding it hard? But why are they finding it hard? What on that list of fundamentals, where is their gap? And then we work on them. So we'd have reception all the way to year 6 in the hall, a small group of them to start seeing what they need for 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah. And it's perfect. And you can just, you know, you've got those skills, but now you've got the vehicle to kind of make it into like fun activity as well.
Yeah.
And what often happens is you've got your PE leads who've got all the ideas, but actually we need ideas for those people who haven't got the idea, don't we? Those are the people that we really need to something you can just pick up and go with, that you know is right, you know it's safe, you know it's going to be fun because it's tried and tested. So that's what we've found with the cards anyway. But the other really lovely thing is, I'm going to just share my screen again, is we also have these little backpacks.
Ah, look at them.
Oh, lush, aren't they?
Is that PJ Maxx on them? It is, isn't it?
Looks like it is.
Yeah. So the PJ masks were the sponsor when we first got them. I think the sponsor might have changed, but I'm not for sure definite, because we do still have some of these. But these little bags, so the programs that we put together We had a big project in Cornwall. We had 24 settings. So I worked with 8 from St Austell area, 8 from Bodmin and 8 from Penzance. I worked with those settings just to look at how physical activity and healthy movers could make a difference to the children's early learning goals. So how they could actually make a difference to the whole child. So the report is just coming out now, and it's been really exciting, and it's really very positive. And it was just fantastic to work with so many of these practitioners. And all the children, as part of the project, were given one of these bags. So they took those little backpacks home, and the little cards there that you see in the front, those are little cards that are inside the backpack, but they're kind of modified from some of the things that you're doing in the setting. So they might be so this one, for example, they're pegging up the washing line. They're using their fine motor skills, and that this is the task for children to do. So the little packs come with all these cards to supplement the activities that you're doing in school. They also get a beanbag, a ball, a water bottle, and some stickers. So these bags, where the children, it was like Christmas when they all walk away with these little backpacks. To be fair, some of the backpacks actually looked bigger than the children. Right, but they're good fun. This is a backpack. They're quite, they're good fun. They love them. I don't know why they were white though, to be fair. But they love those bags, and they stayed at home. So then we knew that they had this equipment back at home that they could be using and the information. But they used to bring the bags into school when they did a stay and play session. So I'd work with the parents at the stay and play session, and they had their bags. They all had their own little bits of equipment. So that's how we launched it, giving the bags out of the stay and play. So it was it was great fun. So those bags are part of a project, part of the Healthy Movers as well, if you wanted to do that. So just coming on to some finishing off bits, I think. Oh yeah, so these are some of the successes. So I've already said, we're to 5 the Cornwall Healthy Movers, 24 settings, looking at improving the whole child through physical activity. And then in West Somerset, we did a big project as well. We had 16 settings looking at improving social mobility. The reports, just the evidence that we gathered, the impact on the children was huge. And when we look at, when you look at the reports that came out, and the report for the Cornwall one is literally just almost going to be out like in 2 or 3 days' time. I'll make sure that gets sent out to you guys too, so you can see it. But yeah, it had a real big success. And here's some of the quotes that we had. Snuggles is now not called Snuggles, it's now called Little Pickles, I think. But they said they realised that Healthy Movers can help shape the whole day and cover so many areas of the curriculum. Our next step will be to train all staff so we can move it to the next level. So how we normally do it is we normally do the training for a group of teachers from different settings, and then they go back to their setting and have a go, and then I come out and support you in your setting. Because what often happens in training, I've been to before, is you go to the training and you do the training, it's great fun, but then you kind of don't get it going back in your setting, maybe just leave all the resources on the shelf. But with Healthy Movers, what we look to do is we support you for a few visits afterwards to make sure, and then we can really help personalise it to each setting as well, which is really quite exciting. Because it looks very different in, some settings I work with might have 10 children, some have got 100, some have got no indoor space, some have got loads of it outdoors, so it's quite nice to be able to personalise it. So this one came from Billy Youngstars. This is Butlins actually in Minehead. They have a little preschool there, so I worked with them for a while. I'm still working with them actually, and they said the listening skills of our children improved dramatically since doing Healthy Movers. Confidence, school readiness, so something that came up as well. There's a big improvement, school readiness as well. So they're quite, just zip through a couple more maybe. Another Cornwall one. Oh, this is Bodmin Preschool. It's now part of the vocab for our children. They ask for Healthy Movers as soon as they arrive in the mornings.
That's by me, that is.
That's what, sorry?
By me, Bodmin.
Oh,
yeah.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because I worked with Lanivet under 5s.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah.
So have they already got Healthy Movers?
Yeah, so they're Healthy Movers already in there.
Oh, I'm going to go speak to her because I know who she is. I won't say her name, but I know who she is.
Yeah, well, I worked with them really, really closely. They're so lovely. As soon as I asked for anything, any data or anything, it was like that, bing, straight back to me. They're amazing. So yeah, definitely
So
worth.
their children would be used to it. So if I get our EYFS teacher,
Yeah.
that would be a lovely transition for them then.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so they do Health Movers, yeah, every single day at Lanivet. Yeah.
I could go and watch.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Go and watch.
Okay. Yeah. So these are most common feedback. It's given all our practitioners as well the confidence and improve their knowledge, and I think that's been a big thing. That when I'd go to the settings, I do one member of staff, then go out to the setting, then actually while I'm in the setting, train up all the staff. So it's not just one person's a health mover champion; everybody gets to learn to do it as well, and that's been quite exciting. But initially, you'd have some practitioners that didn't really want to move around and be like animals or be a flamingo under the sea or something, but then after a few weeks they're all being it and they're all mermaids, or they just really get stuck in. And I personalized the programs there to suit all the children, the setting. We did some stay and plays, or we'd get the parents in after school. We'd get some in before because they're more like to stay for 10 minutes at the beginning because they're dropping their children anyway, so we can kind of hold on to them and do a little activity. So we work different ways of managing to get the children, managing to get the parents as well involved. So this is the delivery model. So mainly is we do face-to-face training. That's how it has been. That's when Lanivet did it. That's what we did there. Yeah. So we did the face-to-face training, and I went and supported them for X number of weeks after that. There is another model, I think, now to do some online training if face-to-face isn't an option. The big thing from that is that you still get all follow-up training, follow-up support to embed it all across the setting. And that's I think that's really important to, some settings I might go to, after training I leave you a week or so, have a little go, then I come in, and then sometimes I might need for maybe a month if you're getting on okay. If not, I might come in a couple of weeks later just to, just for that constant support, really, to make sure we get it all sorted and embedded. And that was how we managed to sort it all out. So, and then I think, hope to see you sometime with some training soon. Thanks for weaving and washing and weaving your socks and your lanyards. But yeah, so that I did that quite well, actually. I think in a minute left to get. I felt like a bit fast forward. But yeah, do you think it's something that you think would actually work in your settings, or what do you think?
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, it seems really interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to read the report from the Cornish schools. And then obviously with the mindset of the early learning goals are changing for next September, it'd be interesting to see how easy it is to link to them. I'm an early adopter school, so I'm using them already, and I could think of ways that they worked because the goals have changed quite dramatically.
Yes, it'll be good to work with you then to maybe link up and kind of maybe no, that'd be exciting. No, and I think it's just nice to see practitioners who are excited about making a difference to young people, and that's what we're all about, that, aren't we? Just giving them opportunities and giving them a positive physical activity experience through play. It's just got to be fun. It's got to be play. So lovely. Oh, thanks ever so much for listening. Sorry, it's just the two of you, but it's actually been quite nice.
It's been great.
Lisa, at least we could get your feedback and stuff as well. So lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.